Hello everyone, and welcome to Galaxy 89 Cars. Today, thanks to Super Futura's Koenigsegg Boutique, the only official Koenigsegg dealer in the UK, and a very generous owner, I'm taking you on an in-depth exterior and interior tour of this 2020 Koenigsegg Regera. All of Super Futura's contact details can be found in the description of the video. Limited to just 80 independently spec'd examples, Regera, the Swedish for terrain, represents an attempt by Koenigsegg to provide a more luxurious and incredibly innovative hypercar that features many design revelations on its predecessors. I will focus on all of these elements as we progress through the video. Crafted around a carbon fibre monocoque that weighs just 75 kilograms and surrounded by pre-impregnated carbon and Kevlar panels, Regera comes in at 4,560mm long, 2,050mm wide, 1,110mm high, and has a curb weight of 1,590 kilograms. This specific car comes with gold dust in the paint and actual gold leaf running down the side, which we'll see in more detail later in the video. To view the engine, a button on the key can be pressed to automatically raise the rear clamshell. Regera is powered by an innovative hybrid direct drive system that consists of a combustion engine with electrical systems. The combustion engine is a development of Koenigsegg's tested twin-turbo 5-litre V8 that produces 1,100 horsepower and 1,250 Nm of torque. Connected to this is an 800-volt, 4.5 kWh battery. The battery powers 3 Yasa electric motors, one on each of the rear wheels and one on the crankshaft, that enhance the turbo engine's responsiveness, but can also produce torque vectoring and power the car solely for up to 30 miles. This electrical system produces an additional 700 horsepower and 900 Nm of torque, that results in a system total of 1,500 horsepower and over 2,000 Nm of torque. This output produces a 0 to 62 mph or 100 km/h time of 2.8 seconds, and onto a top speed of 248 mph or 400 km/h in just 22.87 seconds. However, in 2019, Regera set the record for 0 to 400 km/h back to zero in just 31.49 seconds. As the engine bay here is finished to such a high standard, let's take a closer look around before leaving it. Centrally, we find 2 chrome caps for the various coolants required. Looking up, we come to the mechanism for the rear wing with its gold-plated caps. Moving back down and around to the right, we find the carbon air manifold engraved with the Koenigsegg shield, directing air from the right side intake. Continuing along, we find the input for the 82-litre fuel tank and the coolant reservoir below. On the left side are the inputs for the automatic transmission fluid and engine oil. The final system we can view before lowering the clamshell is the suspension. Regera is fitted with front and rear double wishbones and adaptive dampers, but also the rear triplex system that has a third damper to reduce squat. Looking at the suspension, we also find the custom Olin shocks and a Z-shaped anti-roll bar. In terms of ride height, the car sits at 150mm at its highest, thanks to the suspension lifter, and 80mm at its lowest in track mode. Now we've finally finished in the rear, we can return to the key and press the same button to lower the rear clamshell. Before moving to the car's other features, we can first focus on its transmission. Regera is fitted with an innovative transmission system called direct drive. Direct drive provides direct drive to the rear axle from the combustion engine, thus negating the need for a traditional gearbox. A hydraulic torque converter is used to enable a clutch slip effect, which can be used to give the sound and feeling of downshifting, facilitated using the right paddle behind the wheel. Now moving down to the corners, we find the second generation Aircore full carbon wheels that were first shown in 1:1, 19 inches at the front and 20 inches at the rear. Looking further in, and we come to the 397mm front and 380mm rear ventilated carbon discs that also come with the ability to charge the battery through regenerative braking. Now we've finished the model overview, we can start the exterior in-depth tour from front to back. Regera has a much softer aesthetic than its predecessors, which begins at the front with a sloping nose. We find a large and deep air intake for the front radiators and brakes under this, with the battery connector and towing eye integrated centrally. Sprouting from the top of this intake are flowing front wings that curl up into winglets. Above these are further intakes for cooling. A solitary canard flows out from the centre of these and curls around to the side where we find an air channel to help control airflow around the disruptive front wheels. Moving back around to the front, we find a solid Koenigsegg badge on matching carbon weave. On either side and slightly up from the badge, we come to the LED adaptive headlights with integrated LED time running lights and indicators that we will see later in the video. There are also small fans at the bottom of each structure to extract warm, moist air to prevent condensation forming. Looking centrally, the large front clamshell is one piece and flows much more than previous Koenigsegg's. The darker lines on either side come with actual gold dust, showing the amount of potential to customize available at Koenigsegg. In between these strips are 3 vents to help keep the front boot ventilated, but also streamline air over the top of the car towards the rear wing. On either side of the vents, we come to curvaceous L-shaped loops that help to release pressure from the front wheel arches. Looking from underneath, we see these are functional areas. Moving back from the clamshell, we come to the large wraparound windscreen with its single central wiper. Classic Koenigsegg features. As with all Regeras, the roof is removable and has been removed here. It is safely stowed in the front, so unfortunately we won't be able to view it. We can now move down to the lateral aspect of Regera. We can start at the bottom, where we find a contrast carbon side skirt that extends towards the rear. Above this and at the front is a slim air release vent that allows more air to escape from the front arches, further reducing pressure and enabling it to be sent towards the side intakes. In Koenigsegg tradition, there is a large cutout behind this that allows large amounts of air to be sent to the intakes behind, without having to decrease width. As opposed to its predecessors, the rear of the cutout rises up and forms a separate card segment emblazoned by Regera text. Moving to the top line of the cutout, we find the small manual button for the door. Continuing up, we come to a gold strip that is made from actual gold. Above the strip, we arrive at the carbon, electrically adjustable and aerodynamically formed wing mirrors that are very similar to those from 1-1. These come with cameras for the park assist system and integrated indicators that we'll see later. Moving up, we can view the rear clamshell's features. Firstly, there are small winglets at the front of the window that's just behind and between the seats. This is to better control airflow being sent into the intake behind for engine cooling. As we move down the clamshell, we come to more of the flowing L loops, but this time over the rear wheel arches. These perform the same function as those in the front. Behind these is another larger intake that also provides a cooling function for the engine and is emblazoned with Regera text to the rear. On either side of the intake, we find small wings that come as part of the optional aero pack that boost downforce to 450 kg at 250 km/h. In from these is the active rear wing that extends up on 2 carbon struts. The wing can be put into a low downforce mode and be used as an air brake, functions we'll see later in the video. Under the wing, we find apparatus designed to cool the hydraulic coupling. Now moving to the very rear of Regera, we first find an LED brake light, then text and reversing camera. On either side, we find flowing LED rear light complexes that depart from the circular design in its predecessors. Moving down and around to the side and bottom of the rear arches, we find additional vents that also aim to reduce pressure, therefore increasing stability. Moving back around, we next come to the significant rear diffuser that comes with 2 fins on each side and curls around to the edges. Centrally, we come to the bespoke titanium tuned fishtail exhaust outlets that were designed by Christian and manufactured in conjunction with Akropovich. These are meant to recreate the sound of older high-performance cars. However, unfortunately, I wasn't able to get an exhaust clip for this video. Centrally, we find what looks like an exhaust, but is actually the rear of the fan that helps cool the engine, battery and electrical systems. The ribbing around it is designed for airflow and cooling. The car's electrical charge input is just above this structure. Now we've finished the exterior tour, we can move inside. The key offers many functions and can also be used to open the doors that are fitted with sensors to stop them from hitting curbs and other objects. We will view the other functions, including ghost mode, later in the video. The interior of Regera is noticeably upgraded and changed compared to its predecessors, and I'll cover all aspects of this as we progress. The interior of this car is finished in Desiato leather snow with French cross-contrast stitching, but as with any Koenigsegg, the interior is fully customizable. Now we're moving to the interior of the car. We can first place the key into its magnetic holder to the left of the wheel. The now characteristic wide Koenigsegg sill continues this car's bare carbon theme here, and comes with the Regera engraved into it. As we move back, we come to the Koenigsegg plaque and door catch. Moving down and looking back to the front, we find the dihedral synchrohelix door mechanism that is fully automated as we just saw. To the right of this are the illuminated adjustable aluminium pedals, an escape hammer to break glass in an emergency. Now sitting in the driver's seat, we can press the button in the central array to close the door. With it closed, we can take a better look at this area, starting with the speaker, then the carbon door release and lateral airbag. Below this, we can see the open door mechanism, leather upholstered door handle and armrest. Looking ahead, we come to the flat-bottomed carbon steering wheel. That is more of an evolution than a revolution than the one found in Regera RS. It starts with carbon at the top, then leather around the 9 and 3 driving positions, with buttons for track selection, volume and cruise to the left, horn and airbag centrally, and buttons for the vehicle lift, cruise control and instrument cluster to the right. To the rear of the wheel are the paddles. The left paddle is used to adjust the regenerative braking response, the right being for the direct drive system. The large stalk to the right is to put the car into park and or use the wipers. Before moving forward to the instrument cluster, we can view the car's lights and indicators. Moving back inside, we find a new single, fully digital instrument cluster that offers media info and battery heat and capacity to the left, speedo, power usage and selected drive mode centrally, and messages, fuel tank capacity, oil temp and pressure to the right. Using the rotary on the wheel, we can view the extended trip, mileage, and in-depth readout of various system temperatures. Moving back, we can get a broader look at the dash and appreciate the new ovular instead of circular chrome air vents. There is also a much slimmer and simplified hood over the instrument cluster, and large single vents centrally, instead of the two that were in Regera RS. These new vents come with new rotating adjusters, instead of the usual vents found in Regera RS. Continuing down in the centre, we come to the new 9-inch infotainment display that is a big step up on the one found in the previous cars. The home view shows the car's current configuration with the doors up, and on its second display, tyre pressure and temperature. The first menu on the bar at the top is Media, for extended media options via Apple CarPlay, Bluetooth or USB. Controls comes after Media, and offers controls for the headlights, to adjust the rear wing, and to open the charge port at the rear. Moving outside quickly and looking at the wing, it can be put into its low drag mode using this display, and then brought back out. As it comes back up, it quickly demonstrates its air brake function. Now back inside, we can continue making our way through the display, with performance next. Here we can alter drive modes, traction control and stability control. The second part of this is for G-forces, with individual acceleration, deceleration and left and right gauges. The final menu option at the top is Setup, and offers controls for lighting, settings, units, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi and About. Returning to lighting quickly, we can see how the interior ambient lighting can be smoothly transitioned through its colour palette. Another view that we can see is for the Park Assist system, that consists of 4 cameras and provides a top-down, front, side and reverse views. Going back to the main menu and now looking at the bar of options below, we find seat controls and heating, interior climate controls and demist. Moving down to the physical controls, the first is a rotary for volume control. Behind this is a control array shaped like a Koenigsegg shield, with buttons for front clamshell at the top, door and window controls to the sides, with engine on-off central and rear clamshell at the end. Behind this array there are 2 illuminated cup holders. Continuing back, we come to a small, leather upholstered armrest that can be pulled up to reveal a small but usable storage area. There is another, smaller area just behind this, with USB and headphone inputs on either side. As we move up, we come to the owner plaque, with another USB above, then a build plaque before the main interior light that also changes colour, and the small port window above. On either side of the central column, we find the 6-way electrically adjustable seats that are upholstered in leather and come with memory foam padding. As mentioned before, all movement controls can be found in the infotainment system. Continuing right from the screen, we come to the car's main storage area, the open, dual, illuminated glove compartments. Looking up, there are slim, carbon fibre sun visors, and between them a small, ovular rearview mirror with the 2 reading lights behind. Now we're finished inside, we can move back to the exterior and front boot. This can be done by utilising the handle or button in the central column. The door can then be closed using the button on the key or the small button on the door's underside. We can then walk around to the front and view Ghost Mode, made possible by its auto skin, the world's first fully automated body open and close system. The Ghost button on the bottom of the key needs to be pressed to initiate this function. As with the doors and rear, the front can also be raised and lowered independently. After pressing the button on the key, we can see the roof being stored here in its protective cover. With the roof out, this space offers 150 litres of capacity, and taking a closer look at this area, we see what appears to be power steering fluid and washer fluid pots. With the bonnet up, we can also look down into the wheel arches where we find dedicated pipes that send cooling air to the brakes. So that concludes my in-depth exterior and interior tour of this 2020 Koenigsegg Regera, that's with Super Futura's Koenigsegg boutique at the time of filming. Thanks again to them and the owner for allowing me to film this incredible machine. Please subscribe for the latest content, and until next time, thanks for watching.